a similar small.
My head, wow.
No.
I just the nostalgia. Like now they're just making applications on top of the things.
There's good architecture, even if there's one engineer working on it.
I think of my job as like half anthropology and half craftsmanship.
And the developer can basically take advantage of all of them.
We are really early in our neurodiverse explorations.
So we need to continue to kind of be true to our mission.
Or capable with it.
Oh. Cool bet back then.
Hey, friends, they said it was over. It's not over. It's not over. We're behind the scenes. I told you we were going to bring you behind the scenes and show you things that you've never seen before. Right now, we're in production control room 2. We've got Director Rick and Director Brandy over here. This is actually one of 5 control rooms in this building, 3 of which are dedicated right now to bringing you Microsoft Build. Now, I've been wandering around all week long with my badge and my good friend Filisha Shah, talking to execs and early in career folks and the people who built the things that we saw Satya and friends announce today. So we're going to spend our afternoon with them at Build After Hours. We're also going to check in with Kayla Cinnamon, who's in the process of building a Windows PC. If you don't want to look at me and you'd rather see what she's doing, she's actually streaming live on Twitter. So you got lots of great options with Build After Hours, and we're going to check in with her, see how she's getting along. I know that just earlier she seeded that CPU, and that was looking pretty great. Now, I'm going to be chatting with Panos. I'm chatting with my friend Solomon in the Microsoft Accessibility Lab, as well as Julia Liuson. We're going to talk all about the great announcements at Build, and this is Build After Hours.
Roll, take it. Well, I have all the Microsoft apps, of course. That's a good point. I'm just saying, right? Lights up. Oh my gosh, like, let's go. Let's do this. We're backstage right now.
Yeah, we're backstage here. Just finished some filming.
Kind of fun.
Look at that. Kind of fun. I'm hearing that we're bringing Azure and Windows closer together. Like Azure is becoming the world's AI supercomputer.
Yeah.
How is Azure going to make Windows better?
There's this opportunity to bridge the power of the Azure computer right down to the client. We have ways to do it where when you're working local, you're working on your CPU, you're working on your GPU, but then as MPUs for Windows come to life, the ability to both offload or to do inference on the edge, to run massive models. This is the idea of you have all this compute in the cloud, you have your local opportunity for compute. When you start to bridge them, there's actually no limit. Just think of it as the opportunity to extend your client with one of the world's most powerful computers.
Just kind of blew my mind for a second because we just were at the Microsoft Archives and we talked a little bit about the difference between an SX and a DX. You're telling me that this is the world's coprocessor.
That's right.
We've got CPUs, we've got GPUs, we've got MPUs, we've got AI on the edge in the device, and now we have Azure as coprocessor.
Right, and the developer can basically take advantage of all of them and then blend it. Pick where you want to do your processing, how you want to use the CPU, the GPU, ultimately Azure. And then when the MPU comes into play, like just think of what you can do on the edge for inferencing. So now you have opportunities that are kind of limitless, but also for the customer on the other side, fairly seamless.
Yeah, the customer doesn't care.
They don't care. What I care about as a user, me specifically, who I'm not you, and I wish I could write code the way you do. But all I really want is simplicity, speed. Like I need to be in flow. I need to get done what I want to get done without barriers. So once you're able to extend through pick the silicon, including up into the cloud, if we can move our customers through seamlessly, all of a sudden, like right now, are you on Wi-Fi or cellular?
I don't really know. It doesn't matter.
Does it matter? It absolutely doesn't matter. To you, I mean, it might matter to somebody else.
Well, the job's getting done.
Yeah, but what's happening is we're able to film, we're walking through the building. This is exactly the frame that you should think about when it comes to just using your computer and then blending it through the models of Azure. I mean, almost impossible to do, but quite simple.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that the experiences that we're going to be enabling, some of them we've thought about, and some of them we don't even know what.
That's the thing. Remember what developers do today on Windows. Like they've made it the world's platform for innovation, right? It's the platform where platforms have been born. Ultimately, what does it mean? What's next? What we want is limitless compute for you to go invent that next element. The next great creation on a platform will happen here. For that reason, and the great creators are the developers. If we can give them the right tool chain, if we can give them the right processing power, and then you're not limited by just the client. And I hate to say that because you know how much I love Windows, but we just we extend to it. It's one of the most exciting things that we talk about. And watching developers kind of start to sink their teeth into it will be pretty awesome.
It is a good day to be a developer.
I hope so. I hope
All
you
right.
feel that way. You are the target checkpoint, Scott.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Nice to see you.
All
as
right.
always.
I'll catch you later. All right. You heard it here. Build after hours. I'm telling you, Filisha, stop doing this now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling that up here.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Think
put the
about how
fear
you
in
hug.
you, but
That's
like,
the
No,
natural-
I think it's good.
we're all changing and we're all going to be differently abled as we move through life. I've had trigger finger surgery here. I've had nerve surgery on this finger. All of that just so I can keep typing. If I'd thought about my ergonomics ahead of time, maybe I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in today.
It's a problem that we're looking at more and more with. You keep hitting the door button.
Oh,
Is that you?
Yeah, because we've got the wave
That's now an outtake.
They're very sensitive.
sorry.
We've lost Filisha because she's off exploring. Quick tour here.
Yeah, this is the most experimental part of our lab. We are really early in our neurodiverse explorations of how hardware and texture and things like that can help support neurodiversity. So what you see are lots of different forms of stimulation, lights, sounds, movement, textures, and things like that, so that individuals who need it can get the extra stimulation to help level, to help calm, to help reset or transition and things like that.
right.
This is what we would call an idealized classroom. So we have a multitude of different assistive technologies in here.
Even the desks.
Even the desks. What we're hoping to show here is in an ideal world where this tech just exists alongside everything. So it's that normalizing aspect.
The Toby eye gaze
Yeah.
stuff is super interesting, Filisha. But this is me, and I'm looking to the right.
Yep.
I'm looking to the left, look down here.
That's cool.
So I just need to go up there, and I just need to teach myself, and it just take me a minute, to like click there and then click there, right? So I click left, and then I look, and I click. So you see that right there?
Yeah.
That's me wanting to click on that.
That's what we call dwell. You spend a certain
Dwell.
amount of time on something, it registers as a click. So we've got the Toby hardware, the eye tracker. We've got Toby software running in the background. That's what processes the signals that this picks up. And then what we've got over here is the built-in eye control that's native to Windows. It's got speech generation, it's got a keyboard, it's got multiple mouse inputs and things like that as well. When you plug an eye tracker in, it automatically turns on.
So cool.
This was really fun song.
This is our happy space. And of course, can't forget our old Xbox adaptive controller set up over there.
Yo.
We'll get this fired up. All right, so pedal makes it go, left and right, on your knee.
What is that?
That's your brake and your reverse.
Oh, dang.
Driving with Filisha Simulator.
Hey, stop. I think I'm better at this than with my hands. Setting me up for success.
The best way to define inclusion is not just about diversity, it's about the opposite of exclusion.
Yep.
Thanks for letting us hang out, and we appreciate that it's always open to us.
Always open.
All right, lunch?
I want to play with a jellyfish.
Can you like mind giving
Hey, give
me
me
the
the
umbrella?
thing. You,
Oh my
you always hold the umbrella.
gosh.
All right, archive, MS
Why?
Archives, security alarm, press call button.
Do you not? Did you not
I
get an
don't have-
appointment?
I don't have badge access.
Why?
It's
What?
the archives. They have stuff here we can't touch.
Oh, maybe it's because it's like a.
Hey, it's Scott and Filisha. We're here to see old stuff.
Ah!
Welcome to your home, Scott.
We're old and dusty. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Good to see you.
Hello, Julia.
Thanks for-
How are you?
Out.
Have you been here before?
No.
Hey!
That's great. Well,
I have no idea what's in store with
Yes, I brought you and Filisha to the Microsoft Archives, which is such an amazing place. It's filled with all kinds of history, and I thought it'd be really cool because you're. Yes.
Haven't seen this one of these for
How long
years.
have you been here now at Microsoft?
I just celebrate my 30 years with
30
Microsoft.
years.
I know,
All
I know.
right.
I'm feeling old. Thank you very much.
You've been here a little less than 5 years.
yes. It's kind of interesting to see what has happened in the last 30 years.
Isn't this great? And look at the Altair on the wall here.
Huh. Okay, that's way before my day.
Yeah, that is before. Didn't mean to imply that was very fun. That was more Bill and Paul
Start
and those.
computing.
Is that Satya?
Wait, really?
I'm pretty sure that is.
Take a picture.
Are these like the first?
Oh my God.
Julia, when did you join? What year did you?
No, this is like in the 70s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh.
Go ahead and just jiggle the mouse there a little bit for us.
Windows 3.1?
Yeah. And
Is that Windows 3.1?
it is Windows 3.1, yeah.
Wow.
Did you have a role on Access at all?
I did.
I think we've got Access down here in the corner.
The key. Oh my gosh.
And then why don't you move to the next record?
I think that's the code I wrote. Did you know my picture? But the operating system, when I actually joined, like Windows 3.1 wasn't released yet. Actually, we were still working on the preview version, whatever it's called back then, beta version
Okay.
of Windows 3.0. It was
that was-
3.1 was released while I was working.
Because
I know.
before, with Windows 3.1, you had to use Trumpet WinSock to install a TCP/IP stack. You had to install your own TCP/IP stack.
System error. You remove it from drive
Oh
A.
no, I've
But,
made a mistake.
but then for developers, we had two machines. So the Windows machine was a test machine.
Oh.
That machine was running on OS 1.3, I think. That was the Microsoft own operating system.
Oh,
Remember,
before
like
OS 2?
IBM have OS 2, but Microsoft was like contracting for IBM. Whatever, we had our own operating system.
Yeah.
It's called OS 1.3. So developers were working on that, and then so Windows was our test machine. It was like whole different world.
Oh, you had like, did you have source control?
We have source control. We have source control. We had nightly build. We have test suites.
What did you use for source control? Was it SLM?
Yeah, Slime.
Slime.
Yeah, it's called Slime.
Before
SLM.
Source Depot, before all the.
Before
I
all of
only
these
know like the gig.
Yeah, it's only no GitHub.
I literally only know GitHub because I'm like in college, like that's all we used.
Yeah. No, it's Slime. I had to think about it. It's
Yeah.
Slime. If you ever hear people say raid that issue because the bug tracking thing was called raid.
Yes, Amanda told us that yesterday.
Yeah, that was called raid.
Yeah, like raid the bug spray.
Raid the bug, and apparently because you said there were like
Well,
The
so bugs.
app is called raid.
Yeah, the app is called Raid because if you want to get rid of bugs in your apartment, you get Raid bug spray
Correct.
from the shops. But the bug is called a bug because many years before, an actual bug got into some wires, not at Microsoft, but in a mainframe, and they found a moth,
you like actually to remove it.
and they debugged it by removing the moth.
That is.
And I love this thing, right? Because like one of my favorite stories these days for kids.
Yeah.
Like when the parents hold up one of this. They're like, oh, Dad, why did you do a 3D print of the save icon?
Yes, the save icon.
Save icon.
Oh my gosh, yes. Isn't it?
Really?
Actually, I'm going to sneak away because I want to explore a little bit of the archives. I'm going
Yes.
to leave you two.
This would
Web
like
app. Oh my gosh.
this would like to say the worst name Microsoft product ever. And then it's our first web development tool, another product I worked on.
Amy, so what can we take with us and what are we allowed to take?
Well, we can check it out to you if you want.
You can check it out. So it's like a library. The archives are like a
Yeah.
library. And are you the archivist? Is that your actual title?
I'm the archivist.
Archivist.
Let's go check
where
out
are
the
we
vault.
going? The vault?
That's what it's called.
There's a vault. Wow.
Behind it was actually another networking product Microsoft made and discontinued.
Oh.
So I didn't want to use a new name. So they just like, oh, this one kind of worked because it's like, internet and it's for developers, so it's interdev.
I mean, it probably
That's
was
where it
really
came from.
trendy and cool back then.
It was actually great because it's our first web development product.
Yes.
And I remember, in the huge internet development conferences doing demos of it.
Yeah.
Of how you can build a website.
Yeah.
Like within literally like click in minutes.
Wow.
There was like a huge audience. People was like, oh my God,
This
is
is
amazing.
amazing.
Like this is a new world. So, and then it was being called Visual Basic for the web.
I know Visual Basic.
Everyone knows Visual Basic.
Yes.
Ooh, t-shirts. May I? If they're all nicely folded. Clippy, our most iconic Microsoft and well-loved brand, will live forever.
I feel like that's such an
amazing.
interesting thing because I feel like it increased access to get people into the development world, right? And we,
Exactly.
I feel like you've been at the forefront of that journey. How does that make you feel? Like the fact that you're.
I really feel like it's very true to our lineage and our
Yeah.
mission, right? And then if I think about those stories, it's about people who are not necessarily have a computer science even education,
yeah.
but they were able to take their interests
Yeah.
and their passion and figure out how to be a developer.
Yeah.
So this is the Xbox Dev Kit original.
No! The original Xbox Dev Kit.
So it was before they showed what the console was
Right,
going
so
to
they
look like.
put it in a PC
so
box.
they put it in a box.
The nostalgia is just a thing. I got a little something in my eye.
I've seen that. I remember being in college and seeing Microsoft really make a difference in the development community. And I feel like we really have stood out. I mean, even when we talk from InterDev to Copilot today, when we talk about being able to enable people to come in, it's completely different. It's the access is out of the world.
Totally, and I think that one of the key words we have used for at least for my 30 years I've been, at Microsoft, we keep talking about productivity for developers. We want to make it very easy to learn and very productive for developers to take their thoughts
Yeah.
and take their ideas and actually, implement the right application.
Yeah.
Ooh! Is that the big ass table?
This is the Surface 2
The Microsoft Surface
table.
table.
You don't need to think about, oh, what do I need to use? You come to us, and whatever it is that you use, we'll enable you to develop. Like with .NET MAUI, what are your like thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that, like productivity is a huge part, and we continue to invest. If you think about all the improvements that we're making in our tools and big IDEs like Visual Studio and the frameworks like .NET and all of that. And it's a combination of making framework really easy, right? Just focus on the things you want to go do, and then let the framework and
Do the work. Yeah.
do the work for you.
Yeah.
Exactly, to kind of take care of the part that you don't necessarily want to worry about.
Yeah.
Maybe you can find me a box and let's go get those t-shirts. All right, let's head over this way.
Where do you see us going from here, right? Like this is the first 25 years, let's say, and now 25 years hence.
I mean, remember 30 years ago, like before Windows, then this is like Windows 3.1, right? Windows 3.1 wasn't even the thing that really put PC in everywhere. When I joined Microsoft, the mantra back then was I think was a PC in every desktop or something like that. And I think that was the mantra of the company, right?
Yeah.
And now, obviously, the last couple of years during COVID, it's like everyone has a PC.
Yep.
Or everyone has your computer, because that's the only way you can get your work and schooling done.
Yeah.
And so the number of digital applications just says we need more developers. So we need to continue to kind of be true to our mission and helping the world, creating more developers who can help build the next generation of the digital applications. What else
This
did
is
you
just
find?
for personal things. I got a copy of Encarta in German and a copy of Microsoft Bob.
Oh,
which
I
I thought
remember
was very
that.
important.
That is very
What is
important.
Microsoft Bob?
Microsoft Bob was our first entry into Assistant.
There even was a tutorial to teach people how to double click. Because,
What? No.
because single clicking is discoverable, but double clicking is not discoverable. You can't just go click, click. So they would say, click, click, no, a little faster. Click, click, no, a little slower.
I never figured out what to do with it. I installed it.
And I got t-shirts too. I got a Clippy t-shirt.
Yeah, so then Clippy was like another version of Bob, like
See, this
shipped
one I know.
into Office.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it shipped into Office.
Guess what?
Oh yeah, look, there's a picture of you on the wall there.
Oh my gosh. We did the theme of the 2010 launch was like we do it 24 hours around the globe. They all got launched at the same time.
Oh.
So then a bunch of us flew to different part of the world. That was the
Global
global launch of 2010.
Look at you, and you were like, I think one of the first like pioneering women. Like this is so cool. Like you were like the person who like had the beacon and like made way for us. You know, like,
Thank you so much. I definitely feel like that.
I'm really I get really happy. I'm like I have 2 women in my chain, and that makes me so happy.
And Amy's an archivist.
Thank
And
you.
she was so kind to let us come here and
Play with
play
this.
with the stuff and look all these things up. It's super helpful. Welcome back, friends. We had so much fun hanging out with our friends over there at the Microsoft Archives. Remember, I told you I was going to take you behind the scenes. So right now we're in Studio A, and we're just going to have a walk over to Studio D. Studio A is where all the into focus things are being filmed. We're going to sneak through this little hallway here. Pretty sure that this is not real brick, but I'm not going to tell anybody about it. We got to hang out at the MS Archives for a while. You can see the B-roll, the background. That's what they say in Hollywood, by the way, the B-roll. You can see the behind the scenes on my TikTok and on my Twitter. Just go to my Twitter and click on Media. We've got a whole bunch of great additional footage with Filisha and myself. And in fact, right now, we're going to go over to Studio D, where Kayla is still working on her PC that she's building from scratch. It's her first PC she's built from scratch, and Filisha is with her. We're going to learn all about how that's going and see how we can help her be successful. Another thing worth pointing out is that there are 7 studios here in Microsoft Production Studios. We're just using a couple of them. You saw also that we have 5 different control rooms, and we're using 3 of those. All the information that's being sent out to you at Microsoft Build is being sent through these studios. We're going to head over here into Studio D, and we'll peek in on Kayla and Filisha. Oh, here we go. Let's check it out. Now this is the awkward backwards walk. You learn how to do this in the training that they don't give you for live television. Hi, friends.
Hey, hey.
Hey,
How's it going?
Good.
How many hours have you been working on this? Oh my goodness.
3?
This is so fun.
Just 3.
Just
Look
3.
at the number of manuals.
I know.
You have?
I'm almost done. Look at, this is all that's left.
All that's left is the power supply.
Oh, and a little bit of thermal paste.
Are there any missing parts, screw or something, and you just say, I don't need that part?
I hope not.
No.
Oh, I hope not.
You'd probably figure it out.
We'll find out later. Yeah. So actually, I have a little bit of a recap video of how we got to where we are right now. So let's take a look at that. So here I'm just taking the motherboard out of the anti-static bag. I've installed 2 sticks of 16 gigs of RAM into the motherboard. This is the SSD 1 terabyte storage stick. This is the background or backing plate for the CPU cooler, and this is the heat sink of the CPU cooler. And I've attached 3 fans to the front as intake fans. And then I've also installed the CPU in our last segment, which was very terrifying. And I've just installed the motherboard into the case itself by just screwing it in. And then I've added the top of the case back on, so I'm able to attach the radiator of the CPU cooler to the top of the case. And then from here, we're going to add the thermal paste and attach the CPU cooler itself to the CPU. So that's how we got to where we are right now.
So help me understand here, this tube connected to those 2 fans, that's the CPU cooler. I remember when I heard about water cooling a number of years ago, there was a tank and you filled it with water, and I was always afraid it would leak.
Right.
This is not the same?
No, so fortunately nowadays these come with pre-installed or pre-built piping with liquid of some sort inside of it to allow for cooling, and it's all self-contained, so I didn't have to fill it myself or anything. It came packaged this way.
Closed system with thermal gel in there.
Exactly. So speaking of the thermal paste, I do want to apply some. Do you have any thoughts on thermal paste?
I've seen a lot of videos on thermal paste on the YouTube, and pretty much it's like the whole tube, right? Just basically squirt it until it's falling outside. Is that correct?
Oh, the whole tube?
No?
Is that, should I just keep going? You want me to
I
keep
think
going?
that's exactly the opposite. You did it perfectly. A pea-sized amount, right?
Pea-sized amount. Not to be confused with toothpaste either.
It doesn't seem like enough.
Well, it's going to end up spreading out over the CPU when I put the cooler on top of it, so it should be able to handle the heat coming off the CPU.
This reminded me of the dentist, not gonna lie.
Do you think that short of like writing software and shipping it, like you worked on Windows Terminal and you work on Live Share and Visual Studio, that this is more powerful feeling to have like made a computer with your own hands?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like I understand computers a whole lot better now. Like when I see on Task Manager, I'm using a lot of my CPU, I'm like, oh, it's that thing that scared the crap out of me earlier when I installed it. So definitely much more knowledgeable about computers.
Yeah, it's a thing we take for granted. A lot of people of a certain generation just grew up with laptops, and you've built your own PC from scratch, and maybe you'll build one for me next.
I guess so. All right, so we're gonna finish up here and hopefully see you tomorrow if I'm able to turn it on in our next segment.
Very, very cool.
So if you want to keep watching the build, you can see it on my Twitter account at cinnamon_MSFT. And if you have any questions, you can send them to me using the hashtag MSBuild. So I'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to power it up, and I'll start accessorizing it.
Woohoo. Join Kayla.
All right, we're gonna go and catch up with Scott Guthrie, and I'm gonna actually build some Lego. Not as complicated as a PC, but still pretty darn cool. Let's check that out.
Apologies for my tardiness.
Dude, you drive like an insane person.
I knew you were watching me, so I felt like I had to perform.
Is that why you made that hard left turn?
Yeah.
It's raining. It's a beautiful spring day in the Pacific Northwest.
To be fair, it was really nice yesterday.
That is the lie that people in the Pacific Northwest tell themselves. It's never nice.
What is, like, literally,
You
like...
point the camera at yourself when you're giving good speeches. You also have to do the dramatic zoom thing. Okay, Amanda Silver, who is our vice president.
Oh, I zoomed in on that.
Did you like zoom in on Silver?
I said Amanda Silver.
Amanda Silver has been thinking about building a tiny house, and you like tiny houses too.
Yeah, I love tiny.
I gave her an address, and we're gonna surprise.
Oh, he doesn't know?
No.
This is so pretty.
It's a tiny house, Amanda.
I know.
Have you ever been to a tiny house?
I have not, but I have studied.
Let us get you closer
I'm
to
so
study
excited.
the tiny house.
I feel like I have to tiptoe, you know?
I think you're ducking down like you're too tall for the
I'm
tiny
a tall
house.
person, and sometimes I do bump my head. Wow, but I'm not going to bump my head in here. It's like a cathedral. There are so many different kinds of tiny houses.
yeah.
This is like the cabin genre.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Would you do something like this ever?
Would I build something?
Like, this is the
that
plan,
is why
right?
I
This
am
is-
so
this
obsessed
is why
with
we're
this.
here.
It's
This is the
because
plan.
I am planning to, I am doing this.
Because you want to make a tiny house too, right?
Really?
Yeah, oh my god, I'm
She's
so
obsessed with
obsessed with it.
It's just just such a good and accessible way for people to get home ownership or independence without needing a huge house, you know? And I just love that concept.
But it's very spacious.
Yes.
Like we could all just sit here and have a conversation, you know?
I'm gonna make a big deal of like, I'm gonna.
Oh,
Because a
yeah.
family of 6 could easily live in here with sound equipment and the cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Go.
You know, as somebody who's like looked on as a leader, do people just expect you to have all the answers? And like, how do you deal with that? Or how do you actually come up with solutions?
The best teams are those that are empowered. And I think that it's important that everybody on the team is as close to the user, the end user of our products, as much as possible. What I want to see is that everybody on the team is actually more educated than I am, because they have more context on how the product's being used. They can, you know, talk about the usage of the product and what they see in the heat maps or what they see in the feedback from the customers, and that's what we kind of guide our decisions on.
You got to live in a tiny house if you're going to be making tiny houses. Every tiny home that I've been in felt orchestrated and architected and thought about by either the builder who made the shell or the person that put the things around, like little seats like this.
I think the question is, like, how could you actually end up building a house that could accommodate somebody who is large in stature and still be super comfortable?
Look at the second floor.
I think we should all go up.
How many people do you think can sleep on that bed?
Probably 1 is the answer.
I don't know. It depends on what you're into, Filisha.
Oh my God, wait, I have found the perfect nook for myself. The Tarzan your way down.
I think we should all try to get in this bathroom.
I think it's a really interesting design challenge. Also a mindset shift, right? It's about like being able to allow these different configurations and like breaking it down to the basics and the essentials of what is truly required for like human necessity and living.
I think it's an exercise in constraints. Creativity happens in constraints, whether it be the number of characters allowed in a social media post or the number of pixels on a screen, whether we're designing software and interfaces and things like that. There's a finite number of pixels in this space, and just getting a bigger screen is not the solution.
And also the intuitiveness of it. It's actually really, it's something that you can only do by observing people and how they use your software or use the space.
How many people can you fit?
If I get in the shower.
You keep asking how many people can we fit in the bed, how many people can we fit in the shower?
We can come in.
There's only 2 toothbrushes though. Have some privacy. I would love to keep these GoPros up and actually have somebody like live here for a little while and watch how they move through the space, so that I can.
So, you know, you want a heat map over time, a time-lapse heat map.
Because I want to actually see, you know, where do they spend their time?
What surface did you touch the most?
Exactly.
Have you always been wired like that?
I think of my job as like half anthropology and half craftsmanship, right? And so it's like, you know, I want to watch people and how they choose which tools to use and how they use those tools. And then I'm constantly thinking about how I can actually make that better for them and more intuitive for them and make them more capable with it.
Oh, like that makes a lot of sense. That's what it is about. It's about understanding human behavior. And interesting that's what like guides you. Scott, I found you something very, very important for you.
For my hair? Oh, thank you. Tiny hair ties for my tiny hair. I remember IntelliSense. That was the biggest thing in the 90s. Like you type and you hit dot. And it was like,
I was so shocked by that.
It cannot be overstated how IntelliSense blew minds.
Yeah.
And then AI-powered IntelliCode is blowing minds. And now the idea that you can write like, give me a for loop over, you know, and then Copilot. It's so fundamentally huge that I am both sad that I'm old because I love that the younger people get to experience that. But the historical context of that is so overwhelming. I worry though, is it going to create code that I won't be able to understand? Will I as a developer?
I'm worried about that too, but I think that we need to adapt the tools to make sure that that's not what happens, right? There's always kind of the movement of educators who feel like, you know, you need to start from your RAM and work your way up, right? When I took computer science in college, I programmed a RAM bit by bit, by bit, not byte by byte. Bit by bit, hand-coded every 1 and 0 on that machine.
Wow.
Because that's what the professors thought was a really important way to understand how a computer works, right? I think if you're teaching operating systems, then I think it makes sense for you to start from that perspective and work your way up, right? But I think that most software developers today are not building operating systems. They're not building cloud infrastructure. They're building applications that run on operating systems and applications that run on cloud infrastructure. And so I think that, you know, the big challenge that we have now for this next generation of software is kind of systems integration. What you're ending up with is extremely large, complex, distributed systems that are very hard to reason about. And I think the same is true for what AI is going to do for coding. You know, you're going to end up with code that was generated by the AI, and just like there's a component that another one of your colleagues wrote, you don't necessarily understand all of the semantics of the way that that works. You know, how do you establish a contract and test that component does what you expect it to do?
Systems thinking is more important than just learning how to code.
Exactly.
I'm starting to think about an array of tiny houses and how they would exist in a larger distributed tiny house system, right?
Well,
the Kubernetes of tiny houses. Someone is going to make a drinking game about how many times we say tiny, but there is more tiny stuff below.
I think that there's like a dimension of the tiny house movement that really is about a complex system around, you know, how do we think about how humans live closely together and how we have intergenerational communities.
I also want to compliment you on your very thoughtful socks. I see you have Visual Studio Code socks. I have Visual Studio socks.
Yes.
Great minds. Let us make our tiny exit, and I will offer my thanks to you for coming out to the forest.
I am so excited to be in my first real tiny house for the first time. I got a ton of ideas, and it's so much fun. I feel like whenever you're in a cramped space, you connect better with people.
It's special. It's like high tech or low tech? This.
It's mid-tech.
This is the original PlayStation controller.
Hey, Scott, you know, in celebration of Build, I brought you a little Lego Space Needle. I thought maybe we could build a similar small model with you for Build After Hours.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just finished bag 13 my cell phone here, but happy to help you with your small little thing there too.
Oh, okay. I'll just put this over here because maybe we could just do yours. We'll do yours.
Okay.
Because that did not make me feel bad at all. We've got the Lego like robots thing at my kids' school.
Yeah.
And we're trying to use that as an opportunity to teach the kids how to build stuff. The thing that I think is so amazing about the kind of the larger extended metaphor about this is just that you could make something like that hotel out of something like this. Do you build these with your kids?
I do.
Yeah?
That's the only reason I got into software was because of Legos. You know?
Are you serious?
Engineering, yeah.
It is engineering.
I felt like I had arrived at my career ambition when I found out that Lego used ASP.NET. That was like, I've accomplished something in my life.
That's a pretty cool thing. And I actually visited there and I was trying to figure out why my wife would not let me move there, but it was too cold. So she won't let me go to Scandinavia. With lovely people up there, though.
Did you go to the original Lego land?
Yeah. I went to the original Lego house and I found the actual place where the man who made Lego had the idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
like they
cool.
have like the house, and it's his place. And those original elements still snap together, which is really interesting if you think about you know, code that still runs on Windows 30 years later. We talked with Julia, who's been here now for 30 years. The level of compatibility that we have with all of our software, which got me thinking to containers. It seems like containers are the new Lego element for the cloud. What do you think about that theory?
Yeah, I think the way the containers, you know, you can kind of compose them together and snap them together ideally is true. I mean, I think there's also the element of like APIs and how you connect them. I think there's probably other elements that, you know, you could build the analogy so far, but I definitely do think of them kind of like Legos that you put together, and there's different size Legos, sometimes atomic, sometimes bigger ones.
Did we make a mistake?
I was trying to figure out this one right
What's
here.
happening here?
There's supposed to be two of these.
Yeah, this one goes left.
But notice how that one's like supposed to cover the whole
there's
thing.
That. This is harder than it looks.
We're just all staring at you.
No, it's good. That's not uncomfortable at all. So when you and I were starting in this stuff, we were doing COM and DCOM and different, you know, IDL, interface definition language, and then WSDL, web services description language, and these were all just different opportunities to have software talk to each other. What do you say to people that say that maybe we're microservicing too much? We need to go back to the big ball of mud style. Like we're oscillating back and forth between breaking things apart and squishing them back together.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing also it's worth thinking about is not just the architecture, but also the team structure. And so often I kind of say, like, to what extent is things microservices or not? Like, often it's useful to also see the org chart of the team building it.
Yeah.
Are they all sitting together in one room? Or are they spread out around the world? Are they working from home? And to some extent, if you can kind of build the interfaces both to be architecturally right, but also to kind of enable the agility so that Team A can make a change without Team B being impacted, or Engineer 1 can make a change without Engineer 2 having to be deeply involved in everything. You know, that also, I think, dictates how, do you have more microservices or fewer? If you're one engineer and you're doing it all yourself, you know, splitting your app into 100 different microservices might not buy you as much. But if you've got 10 or 15 engineers, spreading across microservices helps you a ton. And you might want to have more services versus lesser, depending on kind of the dynamics of what gets updated by who and when.
You know, that seems obvious now that you've said it, but like looking back, I'm realizing that I don't think and I used to be a chief architect at a finance company, that I had thought about what's the right architecture for the app versus what's the right architecture for the app and the team. And then you hear the term cloud native, which really means I built this with the cloud in mind. So it seems like when we create an architecture for a successful application, we're going to need to think a lot more about the humans and about the deployment structure.
And I think there's always, from an architecture perspective, there's good architecture even if there's one engineer working on it. So I'm not trying to make it sound like microservices kind of like require you to have a large team. But I do think we often, when we talk about architecture or we even talk about coding, like the dynamic of how do humans work together to actually code together and build something together is something that's probably under-taught in most computer science class or majors. And I think as often there's maybe even undervalued in terms of how teams execute and if they're successful or not.
It seems like with everyone working remotely now that it's been a spotlight on humans and reminding ourselves that, like, in order for this to work, we can't just solve it in front of a whiteboard. We got to figure out a distributed way to do this.
Yeah, and you know, it's a lot of that kind of informal, you know, the water cooler or the coffee chat that you used to be able to have, you know, becomes a little bit harder. And so, you know, again, if you've got the interfaces wrong in your architecture, it just makes it that much more difficult to kind of coordinate and avoid person one breaking person two. And so, you know, clean architecture can help. I mean, it's not a panacea, it doesn't solve all problems, but it definitely can help quite a bit, especially as your project scales and as your team size and team dynamics scale as well with it.
So do you think that containers are going to be like the future of Azure? Like, I have a ton of stuff that is not in containers. I just deploy directly to app service. You know, when do I need to use containers and when do I not?
I think a lot of it depends on, you know, if at the end of the day you have a web app that's talking to a database, I think you want to be careful not to try to partition your 5 web pages into 5 separate containers, like, unless there's a good reason to. But I think especially if you've got back-end processing, if you've got kind of a more logical tiering of your app, then I think containers definitely make sense. And I think that makes sense both in terms of from a deployment unit, but also even thinking about, you know, going back to the days of COM, you know, there used to be all these scripts that you need to run inside a VM to kind of configure things or install this or put a file somewhere.
Oh my goodness, yeah, just bootstrapping the development environment.
And you know, every time you run a script, there's a chance it doesn't work, or it takes longer than it's supposed to, or it errors out in some weird way. And you know, I think one benefit also of containers is you can effectively create an image that has everything pre-baked in it, and you just deploy and run it. And the chances of something going wrong often go down as a result. And especially if you're deploying it over thousands of servers or thousands of VMs, the chances go down dramatically. And you know, I think that's also a benefit of containers, is not just the code architecture, but the deployment, the knowing exactly what bits are in what state on the image, you know, the patching capability, the composability. I mean, there's lots of good benefits that come from it. And so yeah, to your question of, do I think containers will become how we build all of our services? Yeah, I think so.
This is like, there's no reason not to do it that way.
Yeah.
Well, if containers are is the new level, then the new metal, then I can have them pop out of Azure DevOps. I can introspect into them. You talked about the layers and the security. That's the thing that we're going to hand people around. I'm going to say, here's a container, and I'm going to plug that into this other container. And even though they look different and they run different stuff and they have different functions, that's the layer at which Azure thinks about it. And then DevSecOps, I think is that what we're calling it now?
DevSecOps,
yeah. So it's actually going to introspect that, and it could theoretically even patch a layer without even recompiling the application.
containers gives you kind of a way that you can, at build time and at test time, kind of know this is the image that's going to be deployed on the box.
What is happening?
But it's supposed to come all the way to the ends there. Oh, wait a second, there's things there. So there we go.
Okay, there it is. Sorry.
There we go.
Science, engineering. Do you code much anymore?
Not as much as I
I know
used
it's like
to,
a
yeah.
tough, like kind of like a gotcha question when somebody's like an executive or whatever. But you like sit with your kids and write some code or mess around with like MS Make code, or do you ever build a website?
I've got my 11-year-old as a website now, and it's set up with CI/CD, with GitHub Actions,
No
going
way.
to an Azure static web app. And so, you know, and every time anything goes wrong, he sits me down and says, "Okay, Dad, tell me,
That's
what was your problem with your cloud?" And so I get to do my root cause analysis.
With your cloud, like
with
Dad.
Yeah, it's my fault, clearly.
Yeah, if the thing is, if it's his coding error, it's all
Yeah,
you.
So yeah, no, it's kind of fun. I mean, you know, he's kind of learning JavaScript, and he's doing it with Node. And so we built a little Discord bot.
Oh, you can't win them all, right?
You know.
My kids have on Azure Static Web Apps myhamsterblog.com.
Cool.
And it was made entirely in VS Code, and it runs on Azure Static Web Apps. And they appreciated all of it, the whole process. The part that they didn't really understand was the renewal of the SSL certificates. And I was like, well, you know, they didn't want to have to do that. But now, of course, Static Web Apps does all that work for us, so I didn't have to worry about it.
That's cool.
Oh, this is a moment here, actually. This is the roof.
We're completing the circle.
We are.
Yeah.
Look at that. There you go. So then, that goes like this, and like.
Ooh, I like that.
Huh? Look at that.
Mm.
That's pretty cool. And that's the roof. Here.
There we go.
Let you enjoy that.
How's that?
Bingo. Yeah, perfect.
Boom, great.
Yeah. Bet you didn't think you were going to do this today.
This is what I do every day, pretty much.
Let's actually push these all together, if you don't mind. I'm just going to come around behind you here, and we'll take our metaphor and we'll put them right up against each other. I think that one goes there, that one goes there. I'll be careful. So then we've got our main street like that. Look at that.
There we go.
That's beautiful. Good job. You're an impressive Lego builder.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate you hanging out with me today.
What female artist had one of the top-selling albums of all times with Like a Virgin?
Madonna.
I don't know if you know anybody other than Beyonce. A name non-Beyonce came out of your mouth? Beehive, get him.
The worst role models on earth are
So,
sitting right next to
Listen,
me.
I am barely.
So we have a couple of choices here.
Okay.
We can talk about 80s or 90s trivia,
That's pretty good.
or about build and containers in the cloud.
I'll choose.
How about we mix and match?
Okay.
Mix and match. We talked to Scott Guthrie a little bit about containers. Uche, you happen to own containers for both Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio.
Yes, I do.
Is that common to like own something across both Visual Studio Senior and Visual Studio Code?
I don't know how common it is, but I do know that it's just a necessity for like a lot of the scenarios that customers are running into. It's so similar. So we just figured that putting these products together on the same team and having all the expertise joined, it's a lot more efficient. Everyone on the call just understands what's going on in the container world. So I think that's why it became what it is.
Is it the same audience though? That's interesting that everybody understands it.
Well, I'd say not in the world itself. Not everyone understands containers. There's absolutely no way.
That's what Guthrie said. He was like, people need to like get on board.
Yeah.
Containers are happening.
Yeah, I mean, even on a live stream I was on, the VS Toolbox live stream, which is an awesome show, there were people still asking, like, what is Docker? What is a container? What's the difference between
In
a container?
2022, they're asking this.
Like
Well,
2 weeks ago.
yeah.
What's the difference between a VM and a container? And I'm like, oh, okay.
I think it's a fair question. I think because I think we were discussing this also, like the breadth and the scale and the magnitude of the things that come at you. What do you tell those people?
It's interesting because in the software realm, the feeling that you should know every bit of technology it's always there.
Yeah.
Like, so if you look around and you say, I don't know what containers are, someone's gonna go,
Just like
Well, just like what 1994 French film was Natalie Portman, an orphan 12-year-old that found refuge with a hitman.
A hitman.
With a hitman.
Yeah, it's a classic film.
A hitman.
Runaway?
Jean, you don't remember this? Jean Reno?
What? It's a French.
Look it up on. You can't search it. The Professional.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the question then. Containers didn't exist when you were an intern at Microsoft.
I thought you were going to say when you were born. And
No,
that
no
is
well, then it was born. That's true. But no, my point being, though, is that there's, like, how far in the past do you go to think about these things?
True.
It's like, I was here for it all, and you weren't. Do you go back and say, oh, I got to catch up on all that great 80s tech? Or do you just pretend it doesn't exist?
We're building the next, and that's the hard thing about technology is as much respect as I give to like VB and all the various things that got built, I still recognize like, okay, what are we doing tomorrow?
What about those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it?
You have to build on the work of everyone else.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's part of it. You put your hand on the stove, you have to remember that hurt, or else you're just gonna do it again. But when it comes to tech, what is the equivalent to the hand on the stove?
But then you kind of were jokingly saying, yeah, but I ignore history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, how do you find that balance?
Whenever you join a company, anyone was there before you. So I immediately collaborated with the people that are around me because they already had some level of expertise. But then, of course, like, the mistakes that they know that have been made is what you can learn from. The mistakes that you're only as good as the people around you and the experience that you're surrounded by. And that's what's difficult, because if I got surrounded by a bunch of folks that we all just graduated from college, I don't know how well the team would be able to do. When I first came in, I was a generalist. I was like sort of I call it a mercenary PM. It was just, hey, what problem do we have here? I'm gonna go and look at it.
For hire.
Yeah, for hire.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was just bouncing around from team to team to team. I didn't know what I was gonna do next. It was .NET, it was various other projects. But until I think that I got crisp and started having that sort of iterative PM process on one thing, it was really hard for me to find success or find that ability to actually build on the knowledge of others and collaborate. I felt like for me, it was deep first to understand that full cycle, and then I had to go, okay, now I can actually talk to other teams about what it's like to be a PM.
Well, let me ask you this then. In that T-shape that we're describing, both going broad and going deep, how much of that stuff did you learn in school versus on the job?
Interesting. So, like, I went to school for computer science, so I learned what would most people would understand as just, like, stuff that allows you to be a software developer. And nobody, and PM is getting so much bigger now, but nobody mentioned the literal words program manager, product.
Right. So the job was never mentioned. Like,
Never. So since I didn't know about that, then coming out, then Georgia Tech also didn't really have any classes that really prepared you to be a program manager. So once I got into Microsoft, I really had no idea what I was doing for about a full year. It felt like.
There's different PMs. There's technical PMs. There's coding PMs. There's non-coding PMs.
Design PMs.
Yep.
Yes.
Strategy PMs.
So I never apologize for not being technical enough. What I do is I tell them, teach me right now, because it's the only way.
That.
It's the only way if you want to
that's
speak the
so
language,
good.
right?
Okay, here. I'm going to ask you this. You better know it. You probably know it. What does DOS stand for?
Disk operating system.
Okay.
Oh.
Are you serious? Yeah. You coming at me with a what does DOS stand for?
I feel like being the age I am, it's like I'm at the tail end of so many things that were fundamental to technology. A lot of these things are kind of like now they're just making applications on top of the things.
Here's the thing, you two. You are me. You're just time-shifted versions.
I know,
You are going to be
But like
30 years in the biz, and you're going to have stories about the Visual Studio 2022 launch in Windows 11, when Windows, when Windows 98 happens again, when it comes around in 80 years.
I wonder.
We do it all over again.
But
you know what? Actually, I had a moment. Reverse image searching
yes.
was not that good. Like,
No, it's
I
amazing.
remember being like, like you could like reverse image search on like Google Bing, and like you
could just avoid. Yeah.
I remember loading an image and leaving the computer and coming back an hour later to retrieve the image.
Hey, I had dial-up internet. I can be retro too.
Did you really have dial-up?
I was in India.
Bro, and the
too.
phone call would
You were in
go?
India too?
No.
You had dial-up?
I was in
though?
Philadelphia.
Okay.
Did you ever have dialogue?
Yes, I did.
Hey,
But,
dial-up crew. Okay, now I
do
feel better.
I have one question that's for both of y'all. So do you think even though we've hit this point, right, where we're now building containers that go into large cloud infrastructures and all that, do you still think technology is going to keep accelerating?
I love that you asked that because we talked to Kevin Scott, and he's like, it's not slowing down.
Yeah. The thing that's going to keep us on the edge of our seats is that we don't know in what direction it's still going to go.
We have to be ready for the community to make the future that we are just going to help create.
We're going to make the tools to enable them to create the future.
Yeah, I love it.
What year did the World Wide Web first become publicly accessible?
1995.
1991.
I would literally, it's right here. I just
right
asked
here.
that question.
Just
my
asked it. She
goodness.
asked a different version of that question.
Oh.
I'm just throwing
Come
it out
on,
there.
Uche.
Well, I got something for you then.
It better be
What-
technical.
What movies? No, it's not.
Hey, friends, I told you I'd take you where I can't take people. They snuck me into the Nerve Center. This is the Broadcast Operations Center. No one has ever been in this room and filmed live. We had to get special permission to do that. This is where it all happens. Basically, everything that's coming out of the production studios comes out of this room. And from here, we're doing simultaneous language translation. And we're in German, French, Spanish, Chinese, Czech, Polish, Greek, as well as ASL with an additional 29 languages using AI. Everything's happening in the Nerve Center here. We just saw Scott Gu, we saw Uche, we saw Amanda in her tiny house. And tomorrow we're gonna have a ton of fun with Stevie Batish, technical fellow, with Solomon back at the Accessibility Lab. And we're also gonna talk with Azure Vice President Mary Williamson, as well as Mithi and CTO Kevin Scott. Stick with us all day tomorrow. Lots of great fun at Build After Hours.